Hey, welcome back. It is Wednesday morning here in the Tomb of Terror. As always, I am your host, Dr. Gratu Orloff, coming to you live in color from here in the Tomb of Terror. It is April 19th, 2023, in the year of our Lord. It is 9:33 a.m. Kind of a cloudy day. And perfect day for going through some collectibles and waxing nostalgic about the past and times when Raquel Welch danced with spacemen. This is I'm recording an episode one of my extra video series that I'm doing off of YouTube. So selling them through the mail. This is episode 1, and I'm recording it for several people that ordered yesterday. We had I think my wife said 3 people ordered. Yeah, that's it. And people are communicating to me through email and all kinds of people, neat people introducing themselves. And so we've already I think we've already sold 7 copies, and I've just made, let's see, 1, 2. I think I'm making the 5th one, so I should be able to get, in theory, I should be able to get all the ones that were ordered off in the mail today. So, what do I need to do here? Is anything? Okay. No, we're okay here. Let's go down. I've got a few things I need to grab in the basement, and then we'll go up to the next level and start looking at stuff. Yeah, so I'm off today, so I might be able to crank out a couple episodes today, and we'll and then I'll be live tonight at 7:00 p.m. Central if you tune in on the Graphic Man comic book channel. It's very important, as I say, if you've never watched the 4-Color Fossil show that comes on every Wednesday at 7, you got to type in Graphic Man, but don't just type in Graphic Man. No, Drew, you're not going to eat cat turds. No, cat turds are bad. Do not eat them. My goodness gracious. Type in Graphic Man comic book. Because if you just type in Graphic Man, you'll get Graphic Man hit by train, Graphic Man shot by police, something like that you probably don't want to see. Or maybe you do if you're some kind of sick type of person. All right, so let's see what we got in here. All right, down in the basement once again. Oh, here's a gift that was sent to me by Kevin at Gotham City Comics. It is a autographed picture of a wrestler named Harley Race. You need to look him up, find out some more information about Harley Race. You guys probably know all about him. I'm not an expert on wrestling, but it's a cool picture, and it will be added to the autographed pictures coming down to the basement. Here's a really cool Halloween costume. It's officially licensed. Hold on, I got a low battery. I better get upstairs pretty darn quick before this show just dies. Look at that. Is that incredible or what? So you can be Bela Lugosi, courtesy of the good folks at Retro A Go-Go. And Kevin sent me this as a birthday present. 2 things I've always loved are Star Trek and the band The Cramps. And here it's William Shatner singing the Cramps song Garbage Man. So, and Human Fly also, apparently. Oh, no, he just sings Garbage Man. And then on the other side of the record, they have the Cramps' original version of Garbage Man. All right, so let's get going before we run out of electricity, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that may be too much for me to carry here. Well, we'll come back down. But we gotta make haste because I keep getting warnings that my phone's about to die due to lack of electricity. And I see there's one of those politicians has declared a war on meat and dairy because it's apparently causing horrible climate change effects. I went on a rant yesterday about how ridiculous all this climate change cult is, and I lost a subscriber, but then I gained a new one this morning. So it's good we flush out the morons and we get in intelligent new subscribers that are able to hang with the Grot Orloff Inspirational Network programming. All right, so we're heading on up. Where do I have the... Dang, I had the electrical cable. Where is that? Man. I hope... Oh, it's in my hand. I'm looking around for something and it's in my hand. Well, I'm turning 58 tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow morning. I was born on, according to my birth certificate, at 4:20 a.m. on 4/20/65. And okay. All right. We'll set you down here and get you plugged in. This is where I'll be doing the broadcast tonight. Again, 7 o'clock Central. And I might film a couple episodes today, even though that's really folly to film several episodes for YouTube in one day because it overwhelms people and then you don't get as many views. Oh, this dog is hungry. Okay, Drew, the dog. Drew, you're hungry. So therefore I will go downstairs and feed her. Meanwhile, you guys can just be entertained by the television. This YouTube channel has the actual instrumental tracks for these drive-in intermission promos without the voiceovers, and it's wonderful. And it doesn't trip any YouTube switches. It doesn't give you copyright claims. So it's great music to have in the background. didn't go on to the next one. Oh, shoot. Or did it go through all of them? Okay. What is going on? Why is it not charging the battery? Oh, man. How annoying. All right, guys. Okay, so I started this channel, I don't know how long it's been, right before, I don't know, it was before the pandemic started. And then I've been trying to create entertainment for people that, you know, at first we were all caged in, and I was just trying to create a fun experience for people. And I think I've been really honored by the people that have ordered this disc, this extra show I'm making, The Tomb of Terror, which is basically like a new Hypnotic Eye, a show I used to work on. And people have been really nice. People are saying, do you have a, because they heard it was my birthday, said, do you have an Amazon wish list? And my wife says, yeah, you do. You made one a few years ago. And it's like, oh, I didn't even remember. So she's been helping me. She knows how to work the PayPal and everything. So people have been ordering the show and sending these wonderful messages about how much they've enjoyed the show. And I really do appreciate that. It really cheers me up, and it creates the illusion that I'm doing something productive to my wife when I do these shows and all that. She was very impressed. But anyway. Anyway, I just wanted to say, and all these presents that Kevin sent from Gotham City Comics in Mesa, Arizona, overwhelming. And then Charlton 66 says there's some packages arriving tomorrow or the next day. So it's like, I'm really honored, and that I'm creating something that's fun for somebody out there. All right. And speaking of Kevin, this is the, again, this is the art that I was talking about. So that new logo you have that has like the 1966 Batman logo, but it says Gotham City. I kind of visualized that could be here or below, probably above, and then some text down here. And then maybe the next issue, I'm helping him design an ad to put in Monster Bash magazine. Maybe the next issue it could be more like a traditional spook show poster. I just don't have access to a photocopy machine. Used to be I did, and I could enlarge and shrink and all that. And the printer, I don't even know how that works for the computer. We have a new printer, and it's mystifying to me. The old Hewlett-Packard one that I had was completely understandable. I could handle that, but these new ones, I don't know. Okay, let me get a magazine box here, and we'll start going through stuff. Oh. That's not good. Excellent. Just what I need, a magazine box that's half full, so I can put these books as we look at them, into this magazine box. So, what's in this box now? Oh, there's some cool stuff in here. Look at this. From June of 1967, Gun World, Hunting with John Wayne. Now that's, this, oh look. This magazine has a little note in here. That almost looks like my mom's handwriting, but it isn't. It says party, and here's the phone number. It's weird that it has a 1 in front of it. Maybe that's this little note from the early 70s when the smiley face was in vogue. Drew, what are you up to? All right. I like that at the top. For Vietnam, modern sniper training. Okay, so what is in this box already? A lot of cool stuff in here. Some of this is stuff I've shown before. Here's when Don Martin put out his own publication. And what else we got? Okay. Yeah, this has got some great stuff in here. Like, look at this issue of Drag Cartoons. We started watching a movie on last night. Some movie streaming. It's a relatively recent movie from a couple of years ago called Licorice Pizza. It's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, and it's set in the early 70s, and it's a very strange movie. I'm enjoying it. Really captures the look of the early 70s. And at one point they go to some teen fair, and they've got weirdo booths and rat fink stuff, and there's Monkey Mobile and the Batmobile, and there's a guy dressed up as Herman Munster saying, "Yes, I'm the real Herman Munster, but you guys have to wait to get it out." And it's like Drew, stop chewing on stuff. Drew, come here, stop. Drew, you are hijacking the show. We're already 18 minutes in, and they haven't even seen anything yet. Okay, here is something. It's a new trend. They're starting to reprint these highly valuable early Warren magazines. Drew, did you not get enough to eat? Let's go down and feed her again. Drew, we're going downstairs. Ow. And let's get this music going. I don't know what's going on. My wife's account must not go from one video to the next. I'll put play all. Okay. Oh my gosh. Worst episode ever. All right. When a dog's got to eat, the dog's got to eat. Come with me, if you dare, to feed the dog. Okay. And watch it. Drew, you didn't even eat your food. Or did she? No, she didn't. Drew, how dare you? You didn't even eat your food. Okay. Drew, eat your food.
Cosmic Quest has one of America's largest supplies of Doctor Who, the longest running science fiction show. Tulsa's largest inventory of stuff.
Let me wash my hands. I don't want dog food germs on my hands. They make dog food out of humans that human beings, the prisoners in China, turned into dog food. All right. I'm kidding about that, by the way. All right. Let's save electricity because, global warming and all that, just an existential threat to our democracy. Except we live in a republic. So when they start saying it's an existential threat to our republic, maybe I'll start listening. Because they're already lying when they say that it's democracy. Okay. So they're reprinting these early Warren issues. So there's another one coming up where they reprint the first issue of Spacemen. Um, Now, will they start reprinting in these deluxe formats the early Famous Monsters? Who knows? Shut up. All right. So this is a reprint of James Warren. Wanted to be Hugh Hefner, but he wound up being the monster version of Hugh Hefner. He realized that his fortune lay in monsters and not in girly stuff. Here is a copy of Famous Monsters. Speaking of Famous Monsters, this is the 1970s, early 70s King Kong issue. Now this was a pretty much complete reprint of the King Kong issue from like 1963, which would have been the 30th anniversary of the release of King Kong. Gosh, I look bad. Well, I'm an old guy. Look at these lines coming down. It looks horrible. Anyway, I have other copies of this, but I wanted to put one out. They put out this action figure about a year or so ago where they mimicked this paint. Basil Gogos, he always lit his monsters. You got the yellow light source coming, you got the green, you got a red light source, and they actually painted this action figure with these colors, and they were selling it at Target. And most people that bought that action figure didn't really realize what they were doing. They just thought, why is he painted so weird? Because they weren't monster kids. They didn't know about this issue of Famous Monsters. And of course, those of you that don't know any better, the band The Misfits stole or paid, Glenn Danzig paid tribute to Famous Monsters by using this font for the band logo, Misfits. Misfits have reunited for the first time since I was in college, or was it high school? I think the Misfits may have broken up like around when I was a senior in high school. Anyway, they're going to play in a few cities around, and one of the cities is 30 miles away from my wife's brother, and so in Florida though, and so she's like, she really wants to see. I like the Misfits. I don't really care about seeing the Misfits performing at the age they are now, but I mean, I guess I would if they were playing downtown 2 blocks. I mean, I drive an hour, but I don't want to get on a plane for anything right now, because and then what are we going to do with our dog and 2 cats? I'd need to stay behind and watch after them while she goes to see this. It's really a pretty magical event. It's for some people, it's like a Beatles reunion. I mean, it really is a big deal, because the Misfits are pretty legendary. Horror Tales from May 1971. Let's break this one out. Take a look at it. I don't know if that light is really shining at me enough. Ugh. Ow. Okay, so this is Eerie Publications. It has nothing to do with Eerie, the horror comic magazine that was put out by Warren. Eerie Publications was a separate deal. This company was notorious for its very gory covers, although this one doesn't have people getting ripped open. It's a space creature. I've always loved these, but it used to be just a few weird people like me that were into these. Most people weren't, and now more people are discovering these Eerie Publications, and there's books coming out about them and everything. Really, in the last 10 years, people have started to appreciate these. So basically, they took art from 1950s comic books. In some cases, completely redrew it. In some cases, just, put a wash over it or made it a little gorier, altered it a little bit. Speaking of redrawing, are you aware there's some, in the 60s, they took these black and white cartoons, and these cartoons were made before sound, that were silent black and white cartoons, and they, in some foreign country, they tried to trace every frame and convert them into color. And then the silent ones, they added sound and added modern voices and more up-to-date 1960s music to these cartoons like Mutt and Jeff and Felix the Cat, that kind of thing, that were silent. And in some cases, they got a film that was black and white and silent, a 16 millimeter print, but it was really a cartoon that had color and it had sound. They just didn't know it because they got a silent print. And then they would add sound to that. And I think they were called radio and TV packagers or repackagers. And there's hours and hours and hours of these redrawn cartoons on YouTube. And they're fun. I mean, obviously original cartoons are what you need, the essential thing. But it's fun to watch these redrawn ones, providing you have access to the real thing, the real unaltered cartoons. Because they're just so much fun seeing, hearing this 1960s kind of music and seeing Mutt and Jeff in color, and they're in the pyramids, and you got this 60s psychedelic sound and music playing. It's really wild. And then there's a whole Mutt and Jeff feature film that was put together with these redrawn cartoons, and in between there's a live action belly dancing girl. It's very strange. It's called Mutt and Jeff meet or versus Bug Off or Meet Bug Off, something like. It's on YouTube. And anyway, it's just interesting stuff. You go down rabbit holes and discover new things. You become, when you're a collector like we are, you become I don't know how it is with you, but I become fascinated in things, with certain things, and then I research them, and I'm really into that thing, and then something new comes along, flashy, and then I get excited about that, and then I don't forget and stop loving the old thing. It's just, okay, I'm into this now, and I still like the other stuff, but over the years, there have been things I got into so deeply. I was just thinking about this when I showed you the Cramps and the William Shatner record, double-sided. I mean, there was the time, of course, I was really into Cracked and Mad. I was really into Dennis the Menace around first, second grade. I really got into Wacky Packages in third grade. And Marvel superheroes there in fourth grade. And then I really got into Star Trek and Lost in Space, and Planet of the Apes came on television. I got into that hardcore, Planet of the Apes. And then National Lampoon, I really got into that around probably a little too young for it, 6th, 7th grade, and getting the old issues from the early 70s. And then I got really into a lot of music, like the Cramps. I got really into that band. It's like you go through phases where you listen to a whole lot of the Beatles, and then you still love the Beatles, but now you're on and you're listening to a whole lot of this band. And it's like, so I don't know if it's that way for you, or you have certain obsessions. You love it all, but you focus on certain obsessions at certain times in your life. And I don't know, what is my current obsession right now? I don't know. It's just, this is the weirdest time in my life. I don't know. This is so weird what's going on in just watching the news every day. And now I'm hearing that people talking that the nuclear codes were never given to Biden by Trump. He never conceded. He never admitted that and that's really what the raid on Mar-a-Lago was about. They were looking for the nuclear codes because they can't use thank God they can't use the nukes, because the people in charge right now are crazy. This is probably all bullshit, but I hear people talking about this on, the media, the non-mainstream media, and that's what they're still looking for, Who knows? Okay, well here's the new. This is what we grew up with, Famous Monsters, and of course there was also Castle of Frankenstein and the Monster Times. But Famous Monsters had the great painted covers by Basil Gogos. I mean, look, this light is not good enough, is it? Let's move the light closer to me. Anyway, this is the classic stuff. And this magazine's coming out today, which is basically a tribute to this magazine. And this same company, they do a great job, but I don't think most comic stores carry this, because most people that go to comic stores don't care about this. Oh, let me show you this channel. This channel is great in that it has, okay, so it has this. Let's go to the channel. The channel is called Wiley Vision Music. Wiley like Wile E. Coyote. It's Wiley Vision Music, all one word. And they don't have a lot of stuff, but what they have is great. They have that intermission music, but they also have 45 they have a Gumby soundtrack, 45 pieces of music that are used in the background in Gumby animated films. So I'll put that on now. So that is definitely worth you seeking out. Wiley Vision Music. This kind of music. So anyway, let's adjust this light. Should it be up higher? I don't know. Hold on a second. I got an idea. So how are you guys doing on this wonderful Wednesday? Or as the ancients called it, Woden's Day, or Wotan's Day, or Odin's Day. The day that honored Thor's father. Yes, Odin's Day. Is that better? That light better? Possibly. No amount of light's going to make me look better. I'm just trying to make the books look better. All right. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, but they called him Bionic Monster in the States because on television at that time, the $6 Million Man was really popular. Of course, he was bionic. So, how strange. This magazine is bagged inside of the bag. So, and it's bagged in a very strange way. These are how people that do not... non-comic book, non-collector people tend to bag things in odd, bizarre ways. What in the name of all that is? Oh. I don't even know where to... What is... I think someone just didn't want to even mess with this, and they just went ahead and put it in another bag. And this tape is the type tape that when you touch it, it gets sticky on your hands, so I'm going to have to go wash my hands here. Yeah, these are some famous monsters that I'm adding to my collection that I didn't have before. And that's always a good feeling. Because when I was growing up, my mom didn't like me buying monster magazines when I was real little. And so when I was 5, 6, 7, I'd have to bring up these magazines to my mom and say, can I buy this? And she'd flip through it and give me approval or not. Usually it was no, but sometimes she said, yes, you can buy this. And And there would be certain things, if there was an injury to an eye, like someone that didn't have an eye in one socket, it was definitely a no-go. She didn't like that injury to eye stuff. And anyway, and that's when the magazines were everywhere. When we lived in Germany, when we lived in Virginia, all the magazines, all the monster magazines were there. Castle of Frankenstein, Monster Times. Then we moved to San Antonio, and then I think she told me I had to be 10. Or was it 12? It must have been 10. When you're 10, you can buy these without asking me permission. I think that's what it was. But when I was 10, we lived in a place where these weren't readily available. They were in San Antonio. They just weren't in the stores that we went to. Because one time I went to the dentist in the downtown area, and as we were leaving, and I was groggy, I was just waking up out of anesthesia, we go in this bookstore, and there's the famous monsters that has Sinbad fighting the skeleton, having a sword fight on the cover, and that was bought for me as a present. And so that was in San Antonio. Then we moved to Tacoma, Washington, and the only place we went was the Base Exchange, and there was only one time they had one copy of Famous Monsters. It was the Mr. Sardonicus cover, and I didn't buy it because it was so badly damaged there. As kids, so many people had read through it, and it just felt grimy and grubby, and it's like, ugh, I can't. So it was years before I got that actual magazine. Then we moved from there to Arlington, Texas, and we go to the mall, and all the magazines are there. And now I'm old enough, I'm in 6th grade, to buy them. And so it's wonderful. There's Castle of Frankenstein. Unfortunately, Castle of Frankenstein had ceased publication, and Monster Times put out its very last issue like the summer we moved there. So I had to get most of the Monster Times in the back issue market. And then but then it's like wonderful, all the monster magazines are here. But then the monster magazines started to die right after because Star Wars came out, and they started covering Star Wars nonstop, and instead of the classic monsters, and it stopped being a monster magazine. It started being a space magazine with some alien, the Cantina aliens were kind of monsters, but it wasn't really a monster magazine anymore. And then the slasher movies started coming out a few years later, because this was the summer of '76 when we moved to Arlington, Texas. And then the slasher movies came out. Those started with Halloween in '78. And then, that really wasn't what Famous Monsters was meant for. Friday the 13th, that's not really monster. That's a different thing. And then another magazine came out from the Starlog people called Fangoria, and that's what really properly covered all the gore movies. But Forrest J. Ackerman, that wasn't his bag. He barely even liked Night of the Living Dead when that came out in '68. So he covered that a little bit, and he covered Texas Chainsaw Massacre just a little bit. That wasn't the bread and butter of Famous Monsters. It was the classic monsters. And anyway, so I finally got to the right age and to the right place where all the magazines were available just to watch them fold. But anyway, all the old magazines are still out there, and I don't have all the old ones. And this new magazine, Monster Bash, is coming out, and it looks really great. So now, let me go wash the tape off my hands. One moment. Oh man, my knees hurt. Anyway, it's very surreal. My life has taken a weird turn in the last year and a half. I lived in Arlington, Texas since 1976 until last year. There was 1 year that I moved to Longview, Texas. But pretty much I lived there, I had all these friends. Some of the friends I didn't really see much anymore. Some passed away. But we moved 11 hours away up to the Midwest, and I'm just starting to make friends, and there's, I'm, but my life has been turned. I mean, it's like it's very strange to suddenly be in another place and to think, certain memories that were attached to where you used to live, and your parents and pets that live there that have never been in this house, except I have their ashes in boxes. But it's just kind of surreal to leave that behind and be in a new place. Although it's wonderful here, it's just you just gotta. I don't know. It's a but. Okay, so this is Famous Monsters from July of 77. I don't know why I didn't buy this issue. July of 77, I was, man, that would have been right. This would have been this would have been this is the issue right before Star Wars. It has to have been. Because Star Wars came out in May of 77. Like May 25th. This May the 4th, that's not when Star Wars came out. They just use that as Star Wars Day because they think it sounds cute. May the 4th be with you. This must have been what was on because then when after Star Wars came out, they I don't know why I didn't buy this at the time, is what I'm saying. There's some reason. They still have this. This is an early draft of the painting for the King Kong poster. So they had him fighting off fighter jets, and then they realized we can't have fighter jets fighting King Kong. That would be ridiculous. You can believe that a giant ape can grab a biplane out of the air, but something that flies that fast, and people just don't. So they decided to use helicopters attacking King Kong, and so they had to change this into like a wrecked helicopter. I think they still had some jets in the background in the final poster. Anyway, Forrest J. Ackerman hated this movie, this remake of King Kong, but I guess they're selling this poster. This, though, is the poster you'd want, this gorgeous thing here. The ads in the back were, of course, what I always looked at first because it was just a smorgasbord of wonder. Anyway, luckily no one's done the word search. This is a magazine that was well loved. Someone read it that had kind of grubby hands. You can see fingerprints there. But my brother was real bad about that. His fingers seemed to have just oil that would just eat. I didn't like my brother handling my comics or magazines. Anyway, this is Famous Monsters, the wonderful magazine that we grew up with. I assume you grew up with it. If you've gotten 45 minutes into this show, you probably are a Famous Monsters person. I didn't open this one. I guess I should. You might be curious about seeing the inside of it. I'm just assuming you all have this issue. This one's wrapped inside too, so I need to take that off. Anyway, so I'll tell you the same stories I've told you a dozen times while I take this. And I gotta wash my hands again. Oh man. How about I do that later? I'll do that later. Okay. Let's look at the new version of Famous Monsters, Monster Bash. This is number 47. 47 is that magical number. My friend Tom always told me that the number 47 will be in every great movie. Trump is currently running to be president number 47. There's even websites about it. I'm not sure about what the magical significance of 47 is. if it has some significance to these warlocks that control the government and entertainment industry, it might just roll off the tongue really well, 47. But it's like you'll say, for no reason, and you'll be watching a movie and they'll say this, he was shot 47 times, or there's 47. They always say it, and I don't know this for sure, but I think I was told in Star Trek: The Next Generation, starting with the second or third season, the scriptwriters made sure the number 47 was said in every episode. So you can confirm that. Because I really only know the real Star Trek. I don't mean to insult you guys, but to me the real Star Trek was on from 66 to 69. That's a great painting. So Monster Bash, I think it's like I was saying, it's not really sold at comic stores unless you special order it. See, they try to make the ads in the back look just like Warren. And what Kevin's wanting to do at Gotham City Comics is have an ad for his store. So, would this look good in there? I think it would. It fits the aesthetic and the time period and everything. They also put out a magazine that is made to feel exactly like a Vampirella comic, and then they put this comic out called Shudder that's made to make you feel like you're reading an issue of Creepy or Eerie. So the whole publishing company is based on the Warren publishing empire of the 60s and 70s. And James Warren's still alive, and I don't think he was really, somehow he got sick and all the rights to all his stuff got sold off somehow, and he didn't like it. Vampirella wound up, the rights to that wound up with Harris Publications. Now it's with Dynamite. I don't like what they do with their, with that. This is back issues of Monster Bash, which I think is mainly, it gets distributed through Barnes & Noble at the mall. It's a bookstore at the mall. But I have avoided the mall for years. I don't like being around people. I'm a curmudgeon. That's my wrestling clock in the other room. Wow. I wonder if the Monster Bash has a YouTube channel. I mean, this is Famous Monsters with slick paper. So it's not ever going to turn brown like in early 60s Famous Monsters that wasn't that was left in the attic or something. The thing that any other monster magazine could never duplicate that Forrest J. Ackerman had over everybody was he had this gigantic collection of movie stills, very rare movie stills. So he could print all these great pictures. The other monster magazines that competed with Famous Monsters in the 60s and the ones that are around now will never have that access to that. Although now with the internet, maybe you can get a lot of rare stuff from movies from the 20s and stuff. But the thing about Famous Monsters is he wrote it aimed at a 9 or 10-year-old, and so Castle of Frankenstein was more aimed at college students, and Monster Times was more aimed at people in upper high school, and it was more intelligent writing. There's another Famous Monsters I got. That's another one that's got another wrapping inside of it, so I will deal with that later and show it to you on a future program, possibly. Here's a great magazine that's out there in the world called Toy Ventures. Now, this is put out by these guys that they put out more than a few books on toys. These are guys obsessed with 70s and 60s toys. they're plaidstallions.com, and they have a YouTube channel, and they have a podcast which you can hear on YouTube and probably Spotify, where they talk about old toys. I think they're really into Mego figures from the 70s. We called them Mego dolls, but I guess everyone calls them figures now because, but that's just what the term action figure had not been. So here they've got stuff about Japanese. Believe these are bull marks. I remember from in the 90s when I was hanging around with Joe Riley, the guy that I worked on the Hypnotic Eye with. He taught me this. There was a Japanese brand called Bull Mark, and what those monster toys look like from Japan. And so there's all kinds of great stuff. This Toy Ventures magazine, I don't see it very often, but when I get but just wonderful pictures of toys. When I get access to a copy, I will try to get it. Look at these, man. It's, see, those are toys that I wouldn't have bought. I guess they're based on, what are they based on? The Monster Squad TV show, right? So that Monster Squad TV show was pretty fun, but I actually do. Yeah, that's what it is. I actually have this board game. I could show that to you sometime, but that's what it looks like. Doctor Who stuff is not really something I know much about, but I do appreciate the look of the Dalek and everything. It's a show I never watched. I don't know much about it. I don't. I'm sure it's great. Harlan Ellison loved it. I don't know. You tell me. My going in comic stores in the 70s, I would see the people into Doctor Who, and Gary Gygax was coming out with these, what was it, TSR, Dungeons and Dragons. They're starting to come out with these role-playing games. The people that I knew that were getting into the role-playing games, and the people that I saw in the comic stores that were into that and into Doctor Who, were kind of horrifying to me. And I was like, I'm already low on the totem pole. I'm already a nerd. I'm already, like undateable to a certain degree. And I thought, well, but at least I'm into comic books. I'm into Star Trek, but at least I'm not into Doctor Who. At least I'm not into Dungeons and Dragons. I thought, okay, at least I have someone I can, in my lowly status, there's someone I can look down upon that's even fatter, more zits, more horrible, and smellier than I am. And that was, I don't know, that wasn't smelly, but I was sure, I sure had a lot of zits, and I don't know. Maybe Dungeons, I went, I think a couple of times to watch some friends playing Dungeons and Dragons. Man, I don't know. And some of the people that would be playing Dungeons and Dragons, some of those nerds were scary nerds, like I don't know if I want to be around these people, like Columbine looking kind of scary nerds. There's nerds that collect stuff, and they're nerds. And then there's the scary nerds that, are wanting to be, I want to be in the army. I'm going to, and they don't want to be in the army because they're patriotic. I just want to, I don't want to, do the, the scary nerds. Maybe they just want to, they've been picked on so much, they want to get out there. And then there's another type of nerd, and they're the amoral nerds. They're the swinger nerds. They're the ones that go to Rocky Horror Picture Show, and they're into comics and stuff, but they're into writing. They used to be writing fan fiction about Barnabas Collins or about Kirk and or these women that would write about Kirk and Spock being in love. You know, they were they don't have conventional morality. They're usually they're pretty horrifying. I tended to avoid them too. Here's another issue of Toy Ventures. Yes, that I have that figure. That when that came out, I mean, it was very poorly. The body was very poorly made, but the head was sculpted very well. It looked a lot like the Aurora model. Space 1999 figures. Man, I never got any of these bending monsters. At the time when Kiss was at the height of their popularity, I wasn't that into them. I got into Kiss. I probably didn't get into Kiss really until the very early 1990s. I started to realize, hey, I was wrong about Kiss back in the 70s. They are kind of fun. Now, Gene Simmons is just... Some of the things he's saying lately are really... I don't know. Don't want to get political, ladies and gentlemen. This is a whole issue about monsters. It's really cool. They put a lot of commercials, though, in between this Gumby music. Okay. So this is a good magazine. Is this the first issue? World famous Super Monsters. Because these were... yeah, that's how it was packaged. The Frankenstein, the one I got, there he is. They had the other ones, but they were pretty cheap looking. I thought the Frankenstein looked pretty good. Here they're showing how much they look like. There's the Aurora model there, and then they show how close it looks to the Aurora model. The sculpting on those figures. Man. Let's see, the creature just looked kind of cheap. So it's got childbirthing hips. Boy. Let's see. Oh, here's another copy of Toy Ventures. Okay, what number was that one? That was the first issue. Okay, so I've got the first 3 issues, because here's the 3rd issue. I've got some other copies of this magazine somewhere. I need to get them all together. This is from spring of 2021. That wasn't that long ago. So it might be possible for me to collect all of these. But, you know, I don't know. I'd love to, but... They've also put out books, which I think collect most of the articles from these magazines. So basically, they put out enough of these magazines, then they have enough to put out a book. And oh wow, this is cool. They're showing where the art and the packaging came from. Wow, this is just a total feast for the eyes, and there's Japanese stuff over on that page. And it shows the back of art on the back of the boxes. This really look at that. There is a bootleg Mr. Spock figure called Mr. Rock, and they show it out of the package, and look at it. It's like a pistol. It's like a flintlock pistol or something. And there's his communicator. That's pretty good. That's when you tell your grandmother, I want Star Trek toys for Christmas, and they go out and buy Star Trek toys, but they don't know the difference between Mr. Spock and Mr. Rock. Just like there's still people that call Mr. Spock Dr. Spock, who was the baby doctor in the 60s. But anyway, that Martin Landau figure is actually sculpted pretty well. I guess that's a Mego figure. Mego had good sculpting. Problem is the series was weak. It had a great theme song, the great music. The show looked great. It's just the producers of that show, Gary and Sylvia Anderson, were used to doing shows with marionettes, with puppets, and then they get real actors in, very competent actors, Barry Morse, Mark Landau, Barbara Bain, but the way they're told to act, they're not any more animated than the mannequins. They might as well just be on strings, and it's just very dry. And then the second season they tried to liven it up and bring in a Mr. Spock kind of character, a girl, a pretty girl that could change into different animals, an alien. And, well, it just didn't last. It only lasted 2 seasons. But it was supposed to be the new Star Trek. That's how they promoted it. This is from the good old days, August of '78, right at not too long after the original Star Wars had come out. And these were the only real toys you could get then. I have that. I still have that. I never got that, though. I don't know. I guess I like the bad guy ship better. But this magazine I remember, and I don't know if I might have another copy of it, but I'm not sure. But now, if I do, I've got 2 copies now. I don't think I have this. Honestly, I would remember this. Wait, there's a poster in the middle. Is that what this is? There is a poster, but you have to remove it from the staples. Oh boy, it looks like it's a Creature from the Black Lagoon poster too. So it might be good to get a second copy of this so I could take that poster out. Yeah, I do not have this issue. I have a bunch of issues of This Is a Good magazine. I remember buying this magazine at Lone Star Comics in Arlington when it first opened, but in its original location, but I didn't get this particular issue. This was part of the wave of science fiction and monster magazines that started in the wake of the release of the original Star Wars. There was another one called Fantastic Films. The elite one was called Cinefantastique, and I think it was it maybe started as a French magazine, but it went into great detail about the production of the films, and it was that was the one to get. Cinefantastique. I wonder if people collect that now, because it was very it was great. Now I was filming in a Walmart. I went into Walmart to see if they had what toys they had. I was actually filming an episode for this show. I don't know. It was back in my archive. You can find it if you look hard enough. And I go into Walmart and I look at the magazine rack. And I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's like a dream, because I still have dreams where the Monster Times is on the rack. It's like, what? They're still publishing the Monster Times? What? The last 40 years? They've been publishing Monster Times and I didn't know it, and somehow I thought it had ceased publication. This happens in dreams, but here it was real life. I almost felt like I should pinch myself. Is this real life or a dream? Because there on the newsstand rack in the Walmart in Arlington, Texas, on South Cooper, was an issue of Cartoons, the magazine that I don't think I've seen since maybe about the time Star Wars came out. I don't think I've seen an issue of Cartoons since '77. It was something I remember from when I was 5, 6, and it has the original logo. Well, someone started Cartoons again, and except they started the numbering over, so it's issue 33. This was something that was all over the place in the 60s and 70s. Now this one, Kevin held back for me at Gotham City Comics because he knew I was into the Addams Family and the Munsters. And look at this cover, you know, it's obviously something I would want. Now, what is the interior art like? Because, you know, obviously most new comics look great sometimes on the cover, but is the inside okay? And so, because that issue at Walmart that I saw, I remember not buying. It was just cool to see it. And I open it, I see a monster drawing. This art here, though, is not good at all. I mean, I don't mean to insult. The artist is probably a wonderful person. I don't mean to hurt their feelings. I doubt they're watching this. Okay, so we keep looking, and, you know, that art is acceptable. I mean, I'm really a snob when it comes to hot rod art. There's a wonderful poster, though, of the art on the cover. Now, it's not really Morticia and Gomez. I mean, it's not an officially licensed thing. But here's that's a more modern style take on Big Daddy Roth. They have an artist spotlight on William Stout, who's a great cartoonist, and you probably know about William Stout. They even have a picture of Tales from the Who, a bootleg Who record that was made to look like a Tales from the Crypt horror comic. The album was my friend had that. But William Stout, I think he did the production art for Return of the Living Dead. He's just a great artist, loves dinosaurs. They have that in there, but I don't see any actual William Stout art in the magazine. At least I haven't yet. I mean, the art in the original cartoons inside was pretty good. This is like lowrider art. It looks like doesn't look that good. Yeah, this artwork here looks like it was done on a computer. Now that I'm wondering, do I have that issue of Drag Cartoons? Was the other one? There was Cartoons and Drag. Then there was one about motorcycles. But this Munsters cover, I'm trying to remember if I have that issue. Why don't I remember something that significant, having an issue of Dragtoons with Herman Munster on the cover? Anyway, this is a great magazine, and but it's the cover's what's great. The interior of cartoons, it's not a magazine I would subscribe to or normally buy because it's modern art, and it's just not. I love a certain time period, the time period of the 60s. An issue of cartoons that came out when the Beach Boys were playing new records on the radio. That's the time period when, you know, hot rods were big. I mean, 2023, that culture is gone. It would be great, you know, some people keep it alive in their hearts or in their collections. I try to do that within the bounds of the Tomb of Terror. All of the wonderful stuff still exists. Great music still plays here. It never went away. But when I step out, I realize a lot of that stuff is lost to time. See, this is the kind of thing I was talking about that my mother would never have approved me having, is this issue of Famous Monsters. It's because there's a missing eye. And it turns out that my oldest brother, Steve, when he was a baby in the early 1950s, he's swinging his arms around because he's a baby, and I guess his little baby fingernail scratched across my mom's eye. And you know, I guess she went to the doctor. I guess her eye was fine, but she she did not like injuries to eyes, so she would not have given me permission to buy this particular issue. Because so what I would do, me at age 7, I'd take this up. Can I buy this? And the cover would have turned her off. But let's say the cover was just a wholesome Boris Karloff's Frankenstein. I remember she would flip through it and look for anything horrible. I'm just going to pretend I'm my mom. Okay, this Phantom of the Opera. I'm just trying to... Oh, there's Mr. Sardonicus. I'm looking for... I'm for trying to be a responsible mother, you know. It's just what she's trying to be, you know. It looks like the interior. There's Godzilla with his or her son. I always thought Godzilla was a he. Some people say Godzilla is supposed to be a she. I don't know about that. I don't know if I approve of that. Yeah, see, this is the ads in the back of the original Famous Monsters. Shit. I dated a girl when I was a freshman in college that looked just like that. My friend's older brother called her Chaka. Not to her face, but he's... yes, indeed. It could be worse. She could have looked like that. Yes, this is an early issue, 53. This is from January of 69. Well, it's not that early, but it's earlier than those ones from the 70s I just showed you. This magazine really started in the late 50s. Amazing. Incredible. All right. Retro Fan. I'm going to be looking through magazines and comics all day, so when this episode ends, I'll upload it, then I'll put up another one, and then I'll still be showing stuff probably when Graphic Man goes live tonight. This is a good magazine that comes out today, Retro Fan. It's pretty much a magazine aimed at me. I had it pulled at a comic store back where I used to live in the old country, but I'm not there anymore, so I can't get this magazine anymore. Oh, so they finally put When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth on Blu-ray. I was taken to see When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth as like a 5 or 6 year old when we lived in Germany at the Base Theater. We went to see When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. I remember, you know, because I was really into dinosaurs, I remember loving that. Yeah, Retro Fan is about all the stuff, you know, that's the new term, retro. I guess that this is a retro channel, so they have about lunchboxes. I don't like using the term retro personally. Just like I don't like using the term alternative music. I'm just an asshole. I don't like using the term community because it sounds too much like communism. But, you know, everybody uses the comic book community term, and I guess, okay. But why can't we be the comic book neighborhood? But I'm not going to, what am I? I'm not some social media influencer that's going to change anybody's minds. I noticed that what's-his-face that does the show on Friday, the big show, the big guy, what's his name? It went from California to Texas with the beard. I think his name is Gary. What is the show called? Friday Night Fights. Nerdrotic, yeah. He doesn't like to use community either. He's real political, and he uses the term. I don't know what he uses, but we should just make it comic book land. Anyway, look at this. Look at this parody ad. Bay of Pigs invasion. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they got Marilyn Monroe there. They got a Marilyn Monroe figure there. See that? Yeah, that's pretty much what got Kennedy killed, Bay of Pigs. You know. But you can blame it on Oswald if you want. Here's the whole thing about Groovy Ghoulies. I was just showing you a fake, cartoon cell that my friend Joe Riley had done back in the 90s. Here's the real stuff. Groovy Ghoulies looks great, but when you watch it, it's like the voice actors they use. I mean, you just look at that, and it's like, the toys, the figures look great, but the show had a laugh track. It was kind of played like Laugh In. They tell a joke, and then there'd be canned laughter, and it's like this really cool character, Bella Lugosi, the Vampira Morticia figure, was so beautiful, but then they gave her this really horrible voice that kind of killed it. Article on Elvira. I just got an important text at the top of the screen I need to answer, but this show should be over within a few minutes because usually this show only goes about an hour and 17 minutes. Oh, look at this. John Lennon and King Kong together again. It's just everything I love. The Addams Family, the Munsters. This magazine is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Retro Fan, all articles on Ben Cooper costumes. This must be an October issue, obviously. Fall, 2018. This is the second issue. Magazine's not. This is from what year? $8.95. Yeah. Oh, this is from Tomorrow's. Just about anything that comes from Tomorrow's is wonderful. That's, I think, the company that Roy Thomas owns that puts out Alter Ego, right? And Comic Book Creator and all these magazines that I love, which Lone Star Comics used to carry them all because the store was run by owned by an old school comic collector that loved these magazines, Alter Ego and everything. They'd always get at least a few copies. That's why I would keep going in there. But newer comic stores don't carry them because they'll just sit on the rack because newer fans aren't interested in the old stuff. Just the way it is. And that's the way it is. I'm not going to take these out of their wrappers. They're kind of toasty. This is Science Fiction Quarterly. Here's Startling Stories. This is I like this piece of music. This is another issue of Startling Stories. Now this is not in the best of shape, but not many pulps are. This one is significant to me because it is a John Carter cover. This is Edgar Rice Burroughs. I think I used this as a thumbnail for an episode a few episodes back. Skeleton Men of Jupiter. Maybe it isn't a John Carter story. Maybe it's Carson Napier was the guy on Jupiter, right? My memory is failing. Okay. We're up to an hour and 20 minutes. Oh, here's some, like we were talking about Monster Bash. This is their version of Vampirella, the same company, Vampiris Carmilla. Need to put all these Warren imitations maybe in the same box. I need to find where my other issues are. And those are the issues they put out so far. They all are very, very realistic looking. It it feels very thin. I think the paper seems. Something of the paper almost feels like it's printed on Kleenex. It feels it's a very thin paper. Probably that's done because they want it to be on newsprint like the original. This is from May of 2023, which is wait, that hasn't even happened yet. This must be the current issue. Okay, so it's as far as looking like a Warren magazine. This does look pretty much like a Warren magazine. They do have, sometimes they have some of the original artists from Warren that are still around. They do use Donald Glut. They used to call him Glut, but I think it's Glut, who wrote a lot of the, or wrote some of the stories from the Warren magazines. He does, he writes some of these stories, and he, I think, edits, like proofreads the magazine. Yeah, associate editor Don Glut. Covers by San Julian. Sometimes they'll reuse covers that the actual paintings that have appeared on Warren magazines. So they're trying really hard with this magazine to recreate the feeling of reading a vintage Vampirella magazine. Now, they've got this character, Vampiress Carmilla, whether they're going to, like Vampirella was an anthology magazine, but one story in there was always about Vampirella. Now, whether they're going to actually have stories, and they might, about this character, Vampiress Carmilla, and turn her into an ongoing character. If they did that, then this would really be close to Vampirella. And it's a heck of a lot better than